You're sitting there realizing something. You've bent over backwards for her. You've been patient. You've been understanding. You've given her space when she asked for it, and she still pulled away like you were nothing. Every time you tried to bring up something that bothered you, she made you feel like you were the problem. Every time you asked for consistency, she made you feel needy. Every time you stood up for yourself, she made you feel like you were being too much. What do I say without losing her? Why do I feel like the villain every time I speak up? Is this just how it's going to be? When did I become so afraid of her? Here's the truth that nobody tells you. She's not disrespecting you because she doesn't care. She's disrespecting you because you never showed her what you would and wouldn't tolerate. You're not weak. You're not asking for too much. You just never learned the one move that changes the entire dynamic. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how to set one boundary that makes her respect you permanently, and it has nothing to do with what you say. Let's get into it. Mindset reframe. Most guys believe that disrespect in a relationship is about her character. They think, she's just like this. Some women are like this. I have to accept it or leave. But the real truth is, disrespect is a response to your energy. It's a reflection of what you've communicated you're willing to accept. Here's what that means. Every time you swallowed your frustration and said nothing, you taught her brain something dangerous. You taught her that her behavior has no consequences, that she can pull away, go silent, treat you like an option, and you'll still be there. And here's what happens in her psychology. She doesn't fall for the man who tolerates disrespect. She falls for the man who has a clear line in the sand and will enforce it without hesitation. Her gut is scanning for this constantly, not consciously. But her nervous system is testing, always testing, to see where your edges are. And when you show her exactly what you won't accept, she feels something shift. Her energy shifts. She goes from seeing you as safe to manipulate to seeing you as a man who knows who he is. That's when attraction actually begins, not when you're tolerating, but when you're choosing yourself first. Main body, 7 points. 1. The line principle. Most guys don't have a line. They think they do. They tell themselves, I'd never tolerate that. But the second she acts a certain way, they fold, they rationalize, they make excuses. I guess she had a rough day. Maybe I misread the situation. She's going through stuff. I should be understanding. And here's why that destroys respect. When you fold, you communicate one thing. My words don't mean anything. I say I have standards, but I'll abandon them the second you test me. The deeper psychological truth is this. A woman's respect is built on your willingness to enforce your own boundaries. Not on what you say, but on what you do when you're tested. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence, not I'm such a boss confidence, but quiet, grounded, I said what I said confidence. Here's the shift. You have to decide before she tests you exactly what your line is, and you have to know in your bones that you will enforce it. No exceptions, no rationalizations, no second chances. 2. The one move. Here's the part nobody talks about. The one move that changes everything isn't dramatic. It's not a big confrontation. It's not a speech about what you deserve. It's this. You leave, not angry, not dramatic, not as a manipulation tactic, but calm, quiet, final. Most guys can't do this because they confuse leaving with anger. They think, if I just show her how angry I am, she'll understand. But anger is still an emotional reaction. And she can work with that. She can apologize for the anger and get you back. But here's what happens when you leave calmly. When you say, this isn't working for me, and you walk away without explanation, without drama, without an open door, she feels something completely different. Her energy shifts. Her nervous system goes on alert. Because you just showed her, I'm not negotiating my peace. I'm not begging you to treat me right. I have a line and you crossed it. And here's what she starts thinking. He's actually leaving. He's actually done. This isn't just a threat. Her gut is saying, oh, he's different. He actually means it. 3. The consistency test. This is the one most guys completely fail. They set a boundary, but then they don't enforce it. They say, I won't tolerate this, and then they tolerate it 2 days later when she sends a sweet text. She tests, they fold. And now she's learned something dangerous. His words mean nothing. The psychological insight is this: consistency is the only thing that builds trust. Not what you say, not what you promise, but whether you do what you said you'd do every single time without exception. Here's the wrong approach versus the right approach. Wrong. I need more communication than this. If this continues, I'm going to have to think about whether this is working. Then a week later, when nothing changed, he's still there. Still texting. Still showing up. Right. I'm not okay with how this is going. I need to step back. Then he actually steps back. Not as a threat, but as a consequence. A real one. And here's what she feels when you follow through. Safety. Not the safety of a man who will always be there, but the safety of a man who actually has edges, who actually means what he says. That's when she starts respecting you in a way she never has before. 4. The identity message. Here's the reframe that changes everything. When you enforce a boundary, you're not punishing her. You're choosing yourself. Most guys feel guilty when they walk away. They think, maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should have given her another chance. They rationalize their own self-respect as being unreasonable. But here's what you need to understand. You are not responsible for managing her emotions around your boundaries. You're not responsible for making sure she feels okay about you having standards. The deeper behavioral truth is this: the moment you make your self-respect contingent on her reaction to it, you've already lost. You're performing your own boundaries instead of actually having them. So here's your rule. You set the boundary for yourself, not for her. Not as a manipulation to get her to change, but as a statement of who you are and what you will accept. Not because she's bad, not because you're angry, but because you know your value and you refuse to negotiate it for anyone. And here's the thing, that energy is what she feels. She doesn't fall for the man who tolerates disrespect. She falls for the man who refuses to tolerate it without making a scene about it, calm, clear, unshakable. 5. The respect cycle. Here's where most guys get it completely wrong. They think respect is something you earn by being good to her, by being understanding, by being patient, by being the nice guy who never makes waves. But here's the real truth. Respect is established through what you enforce, not through what you tolerate. Most guys spend their energy trying to be good enough. They overfunction. They overgive. They try to prove they're worthy of respect through their actions alone. And here's what happens. She takes, and then one day she leaves anyway, because you never showed her what the line was. The psychological insight is this. A woman's brain is constantly scanning for a man who has a clear identity, who knows what he will and won't accept, who doesn't adjust his standards based on her mood or her behavior. So instead of trying to earn her respect, focus on this. Do you know what your line is? Have you enforced it? Do you have a track record of following through when someone crosses it? If the answer is no, that's where you start. Not by being meaner, but by being clearer. That's the shift that turns you from an option into a priority. 6. The calm enforcement. Here's the tactical piece nobody teaches. The way you enforce a boundary matters more than the boundary itself. Most guys either explode with anger or they make empty threats. Neither creates respect. Both show instability. But here's what the grounded man does. He enforces calmly. He states the line. He enforces the consequence. And he doesn't need her to agree with it, validate it, or apologize for it. Here's the wrong approach versus the right approach. Wrong. You make me feel like I'm not a priority and it's really hurting me. Please just try to understand where I'm coming from. Right. I'm not okay with how this is going. I need to step back for my own peace. That second response isn't angry. It isn't demanding, but it is clear. It's leading, and it doesn't need her permission to be valid. And here's what she feels. Safety. The safety of a man who can hold his frame under pressure, who doesn't need her to apologize to feel okay about his decision. That's when her brain says, "This guy doesn't need me to validate his choices." 7. The new pattern. Let me tie this all together with the core principle. Most guys think setting one boundary will fix everything. But here's what you need to understand. It's not about one moment. It's about establishing a pattern. Every time you let something slide, you teach her something about you. Every time you make an excuse for her behavior, you erode your own power. Every time you fold under pressure, you tell her brain that your words don't mean anything. The real shift happens when you become known for your consistency, when she knows without a doubt that if she crosses a line, there will be a real consequence. Not an angry outburst, not a dramatic exit, but a calm, clear, enforced boundary. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence, not watch me be tough confidence, but quiet, grounded, I know who I am confidence. And here's what happens. She stops testing. Not because you're scary, but because she knows you'll follow through. And that changes the entire dynamic from one where she's in control to one where you're both choosing each other consciously. That's when everything shifts, not just in this relationship, but in every relationship you have going forward. Close. So here's your identity level truth. You are not responsible for tolerating disrespect to keep the peace. You are responsible for knowing your value and refusing to abandon it for anyone. Stop trying to earn respect through patience and overfunctioning. Start building it through clear, calm, consistent enforcement of your own boundaries. This isn't about being harsh. It isn't about being cold. It's about being clear about who you are and accepting nothing less. When you internalize this, you stop performing and start being. And that's when she stops disrespecting you, not because she changed, but because you did. You're not the man who tolerates. You're the man who knows exactly what he'll accept and what he won't. And that's the foundation everything else is built on.